official welcome, aloha. Today's class is going to be really grounding and soothing. For those of you in our Vinyasa flow training, it's going to be a little bit slower and more foundational than usual. We just started a level 1 training on Tuesday, and so the goal today is to really feel supported and to feel loved by your body, and simultaneously to give love to your body. We will be doing a lot of hip stuff, and I feel like sometimes there's this tendency with hip stuff to like try to stretch, right? To try to get like that stretch sensation in the hips. And so I invite you to play with trying to find as much support and buoyancy and lightness in the hips, and just see what happens. You might be pleasantly surprised by the amount of mobility you get when you stop trying. So that will be the experiment of the day. And now we can begin. So you all look perfect and beautiful. Take a moment to wiggle a little bit if you need extra support. And then allow stillness to creep in just so gently. Notice any sense of relief by giving yourself permission to slow down. And just gently scan the body with your awareness. And start with the forehead. If you've been thinking a lot, I definitely get creases between my eyebrows. Just imagine being able to soften the space between the eyebrows, the temples, the jaw. Scan over the neck and the shoulders, and there's no need to judge what you find. Just notice. We're noticing, we're giving our body very subtle support to start to let go and release. Scan along the spine, down to the hips and legs. And then imagine observing your body as a whole. From that wholeness, observe the breath. Allow the breath to naturally rise and fall. Also notice the space between the breaths. If it's comfortable, feels supportive and natural, play with letting the breath slow down just a little bit. Perhaps those spaces elongate, but there's no need to force it. yourself permission to slow down a little, relax a little bit more. And if it ever feels uncomfortable, just go back to your natural breath flow. Throughout our class today, the breath will naturally change, and I invite you to continue observing the breath in this way without forcing anything or controlling it, just watching it, observing, being curious, allowing it to do its thing so much more intelligently than we can do it on purpose. And so, continuing to observe the breath. If you are following along with music, you can hit play on the first track through space, and please just make sure the songs are set to repeat, and I will tell you when to go to the next track. And let's start with awakening the awareness in the soles of our feet. Many of you have done this already, but it's new and different each time. Sure. So just so we're on the same page, let's have the right foot in front and just gently start to bring the fingertips to the foot, exploring the sensation of the skin. And there are so many receptors in our feet that give us lots of information if we're willing to listen. And so we do this so that the body starts to open those receptors and say, like, okay, I'm going to let that information in, right? So as the fingertips stroke the foot, really try to feel what it's like. Does it tickle a little bit? Can you feel each fingertip? There's a simultaneity of the fingers feeling and the sole of the foot feeling. And eventually you can bring more pressure, but with more pressure, you also have to bring more awareness, right? Otherwise it just becomes a foot massage, and that's not the point. We want to feel more. You can start at the toes and eventually make your way to the ball of the foot. Because so many of you have done this before, I want you to have freedom to explore. Hi, Octavia. And make your way towards the arch of the foot if you haven't already, and just notice how the quality of the muscle there might change. Maybe it feels differently underneath the fingertips, but it also might feel differently inside, right? There might be a little more sensitivity. And if you ever feel like your awareness is getting smaller, remember that meditation we started with, right? Where you're observing your whole body, the flow of your breath. Can you stay in that awareness as you feel, turning all these buttons on? Make your way to the heel and the ankle. And then for the last few moments, you can do whatever you want. Maybe squeeze the calf or go back to a spot that really loved the attention. And before we do the second side, I'd like to introduce the beginning of our sequence, because when we do it, we're going to be facing the edges. I might Um, and so it'll be easiest to follow along when we're facing each other. So allow the right foot to step off to the side. And our goal, remember, is for our pelvis to feel really supported. So give yourself permission to create more space, right? Play with letting the foot come further and further away to just see what feels most spacious. And let's just gently twist towards the leg. Ever so gently, let the spine lengthen as you twist to the right. And then plant the left hand over to the other side and just gently press into the right foot and the left knee to lift the hips. Maybe just a little at first. And then gently set the hips down and allow the right leg to extend. Place the hands to either side of the right leg and make some little circles with the right foot. And just like with the foot exercise, try to feel the sensations on the heel, right? Notice that sense of pressure and massage. Take it in. And I see some of you already naturally doing this. Allow the body to naturally follow as the foot circles, the thigh gently rotates, and allow the body to follow that momentum as long as it's comfortable and natural. And if it's not comfortable and natural, just focus on the leg and let the leg do its thing. And then come to center, rock the weight back, hover both legs and both hands, and imagine you're falling through space, but it's not scary. It's really fun. It's wonderful. You love it. And try to challenge your core a little bit. Slow down. Everyone, homework, slow down. Good. Yeah, no, now you're really falling through space. And try to find a spot where your core has never been challenged before. Maybe leaning back into the side and you're only on one sit bone. If you fall, extra credit, because it means you really found a spot that's new to your core. Yeah, great job. I want to take a video of all of this. I think this song is called Through Space. It's so perfect. All right, and then back to center with the strength of your core. Cross the left leg in front. And just pause. Back to the beginning. Observe the body as a whole. Observe the breath. Notice any sensations lighting up through the right side or anywhere. And now we'll do that same sequence on the second side. So starting with giving our foot some more awareness, right? And feel free to pick up the leg or whatever is most comfortable in the hip socket as you start to glide the fingers over the padding of the foot. And eventually bring extra pressure and try to feel more. Feel more with the fingertips and more with the skin on the foot and the muscles in the foot. We'll be exploring a lot of standing poses today, and waking up these sensors is going to help us have extra support in our knees, in our pelvis, in our legs as a whole, in our core. So that our goal of supporting the pelvis, finding buoyancy, will be easier and more attainable, hopefully. Make your way to the heel. And just check in with the left hip. Sometimes it can be quite a lot of external rotation. Jeanette has a really good way of doing this. She's crossing the leg over a little bit. So thanks for the inspiration, Jeanette. Yeah, there's some takers. I have an unfair advantage. I get to see all of you, but And hi, Alice. I didn't get to say hi to you yet. I'm glad you're here. And make your way to the last portion of the foot or the leg, wherever you're landing. All right. And we'll go into our little Shakti flow of setting the left foot over to the left and really spreading out, right? And then gently twisting to the left. Lengthen through the spine. Imagine the heart just opening up to the sun. Let the breath be natural, but notice as it massages the spine. And then gently untwist, plant the right hand off to the right, and lift the hips. And as we repeat this, you might notice, let's actually try it. I know we didn't do it on the first side, but set the hips down and give the hand and the foot permission to reset and try it again, right? Sometimes we don't get it right on the first try. But if we give our body permission to adapt, it'll tell us, like, oh, my pelvis wants some more space. Yeah, don't worry. I'll make sure we balance it out on the other side. So let's take a couple pulses here to explore that. Just noticing the tripod of the right hand, the right knee, and the left foot, and how they can best support you. And the next time you set the hips down, we'll move on. Allow the left leg to extend. Keep a little bend there. And then just gently twist so you're pointed over the left leg, and allow the left toes to start to circle. And the circles might be really small, right? Maybe that left hip isn't very warm yet and it doesn't want a whole lot of rotation. That's okay. Let the circles be slow and small, whatever feels right. You can also place your hands behind you and lean back. Just giving more space for the front of the body and the thigh bone and the hip socket to roll around. And then lift the spine to center, rock back on the sits bones. You have another opportunity. And remember, we're going to move extra slow. And allow the limbs to be surprising. Right? Sometimes we get into a pattern that's kind of easy to move in. Can you reach your arm into a new place? Can you reach your leg into a different direction? It should feel hard. It should feel like, whoa, this is working every muscle in my core, and it's okay if it's not, but then try to find a way to fall back a little bit and turn more on. And then we come back to center, right leg in front, and just observe the breath. All right. So our sequence is going to begin with us pointed to the left side of our mat. So you can take a quarter turn to the left. The right leg will be in front. And we'll actually start with the movements you've already done. So hopefully they should be nice and familiar. And scooch on down. Scooch on down the mat so you've got a lot of real estate behind you. Place the hands on the thighs. Close the eyes. Imagine all the sensors turning on inside. And ever so gently, allow the pelvis to start to circle. You can bring your awareness to the sits bones and imagine rocking onto the back of the sits bones, the left side, the front, and then the right side. And sometimes drawing a smaller circle will feel a lot better. So give yourself permission to slow things down. We'll repeat this so many times that the circles will naturally get bigger. We don't have to rush it. You can go the opposite direction. And so as you rotate on the sits bones, the pelvic bowl is essentially rolling around. And so just notice the sensation where the thigh bones meet the pelvis, and that space is changing as the pelvis moves. Just bring your awareness to that space and make sure the muscles in the hip sockets are okay with the sensation of the pelvis rolling around. If it feels like an intense stretch, or it feels uncomfortable or painful, or you're not sure, do less. Trust your body. It's giving you signals. And then come to center. Set the right foot generously off to the right. Gentle twist to the right. And then slowly sweep the hands over to the left, untwisting. Plant the left hand. Push down into the legs to effortlessly lift the pelvis. Sit the hips down. Allow the right leg to extend. And just draw a couple of circles this time with the right leg. And then rock back into falling through space. And we'll repeat that whole thing one more time, a little bit faster. So when you're ready, step the right foot off to the side. Bring the left foot underneath you. Gentle twist to the right. And then press into the feet. Sweep the arms over to the other side. Let the hips just reverse melt. Slowly opening. And then set everything down. Allow the right leg to slide out. And gently circle the right foot. If you're feeling tugging in the back of the right leg or in the low back, sit up a little taller. Plant the hands behind you. And you can save the forward fold for the next round. There's no rushing, right? We want it to feel fluid. And then rock back. Challenge your core for a moment. Make sure keep ourselves honest as the whole core cylinder turns on. It will support us in the rest of our class. And now cross the right leg in front of the left. Plant the left hand behind you. Push down into the feet and the left hand to slowly untwist into a tabletop. Great. And I'm going to demo that one time more, just in case you hadn't done it before. So the right leg's in front, and then we push down into our limbs, the hips lift, and then as the knees drop, we're able to pivot. Nice. Great. I love seeing you guys repeat it. That looked great, Mel and Octavia. And now step the hands one handprint forward and gently reach the hips back to the heels, releasing the forehead to the mat. Push down into the shins. Let the legs energize. Let the hips slowly lift and push down into the hands. So there's a lot of support in the front of the spine. Notice how pushing down into the legs and the hands helps you round the spine. And then allow the hips to gently lower, pull on the mat, glorified cow. So not quite an up dog, just a nice easy opening through the front of the body. And let's repeat that. So press into the hands, send the hips back, letting the spine round. And then reverse, push down into the shins, hips stack, spine rounds, push down into the hands for a little extra support. And then once shoulders get over wrists, pull on the mat, letting the front of the body open. Just make sure the low back doesn't feel compressed. If it does, focus the opening more in the upper back and let the low back just be more neutral. From here, tuck the toes underneath. Slowly walk the hands back to the knees. And then push into the toes, push into the hands to hover the knees. Bring the heels down and let the hips rise. Coming into Uttanasana, forward fold. Bend the knees really deeply. And then push down into the feet. Press the hips forward, gently allowing the spine to stack on top of the pelvis. I wandered away from my mat, so if that happened to you, feel free to step onto the mat. And just pause for a moment. Bring your awareness to your knees and your pelvis. And adjust the feet, perhaps allowing them to go wider, allowing the toes to turn out a little bit or in a little bit until
the knees and the pelvis can completely relax and feel totally supported. And then slowly start to reach the hands forward and up as you sit the hips back in Uttanasana, chair pose, and take a couple of effortless pulses like that, returning to standing and then scooping the air up with the arms as you reach the sits bones back, just turning on the muscles in the legs. Again, bring your awareness to your low back and just make sure there's not any tightness or pressure. Sometimes we overarch in the low back. If that's happening, try just bringing hands on the hips and see if that helps take some of the pressure out of the lats. And the next time you sink down, pause, observe the breath, and then press into the feet to gently rise up. And we're going to take a meditation walk to the other end of our mat. So shift the weight into the left foot and effortlessly hover the right foot, bring the right heel down, and then slowly shift the weight into the ball of the right foot and onto the ball of the left foot. Bend the right knee, present the left foot forward, heel, and then shift the weight. Let the back foot hover, bend the left knee, and just slowly walk towards the other end of the mat, really trying to feel every moment of your journey. I have a really long mat. So from the top of your mat, soften the knees, bring hands to hips, and just gently release the spine over the legs. Plant the hands down. Bend both knees really generously, and then hover the right leg behind you so you can set the right knee down behind you. Place the hands over to the right so you can bring the right hip down, and then cross the left leg in front. Don't worry, that is not a transition that we're going to be doing continuously out through class, but we do have to do it one more time. It's basically like just come down to seated. And so now we're at the beginning, but on the second side. So let's just take a moment to observe body and breath. Feel free to have a sip of water. And we'll start with our gentle pelvis circles. Just rocking the weight around the sits bones. Bringing all of your awareness to the sensation of the hip socket. Sometimes there's a little more space between the thigh bone and the hip socket. Sometimes there's less space as you rock forward and over the leg. So just make sure those sensations are feeling like positive ones. I have definitely found myself pushing into things thinking it was like good and beneficial, and it was actually my body saying, ow. So just give yourself permission to back up, not go as far. And just do 1 or 2 circles the opposite way. And then from center, step the left leg wide over to the left. Take your gentle twist to the left. Check in with the left hip socket. And then untwist, plant the right hand, lift the hips, baby wild thing. And then set the hips down, extend the left leg, hands frame it, and start to circle the leg. And if that ever is not feeling supportive, bring the hands behind you. Give those hip flexors some extra space. If you're not sure, try both and then do the one you like more, or the one your body likes more. And then reach the hands up, shift the weight back, and start to fall backwards, letting the limbs reach and pull you Try to notice the three-dimensional support wrapping around the spine. And then bring the legs back to the starting position with the left leg off to the side. Gentle twist to the left. Untwist, baby wild thing. Set the hips down, extend the left leg. Take some leg circles, either folding forward or leaning back. And then reach the hands up, reach the legs up, and gently recline back and enjoy your journey. Nice job moving slower. If it feels too easy, try leaning back a little bit more. And then cross left leg in front of right, right hand behind you. Push down into the feet and the back hand to lift the knees, swiveling over to the right. Great, into tabletop. Nice. From here, step the hands forward. Gently press into the hands to shift the hips back into Bhaktasana. Toes can be tucked under or flat. And push down into the feet and the knees to round the spine high into a cat pose. Push down into the hands and just give the front of the spine a lot of support. Shoulders over wrists, and then gently pull on the mat to open the heart. Let the low back be really soft so those muscles aren't working too hard. And then let's do it again. Push the hips back. Child's pose. And then initiate the movement from the legs. Feel the strength in the legs supporting the pelvis, supporting the spine as you round forward. And then just a gentle cow pose, but glorified cow because the hands are forward, so it's a little bit more, right? And then hips to heels, slowly drag the hands back. And notice how the body has to work for the hands to drag back. The hips reach a little more towards the heels, the weight shifts back. Press into the hands, hover the knees. Allow the heels to extend as the hips rise. Knees can stay as deeply bent as is comfortable. And then press down into the feet. Guide the hips forward. Watch as the spine automatically stacks. Step onto the mat if you're not already. And allow the feet to adjust until knees and hips feel delicious. Just pause for a moment. And then scoop the air up with the arms as the hips sink back. And take 1 or 2 slow motion pulses into Utkatasana. The next time you're in chair pose, just pause for a moment, observe the breath. And then press into the feet, gently floating up, and we'll take one last meditation walk. This is not going to happen again in class, so really enjoy the sense of the feet carrying you forward. Notice the support in the hips and the balance it takes to walk so slowly. See if you can feel the chain of events. And when you make it to the top, you can come down to seated however you want, or you can follow my interesting directions on how to get there by bending the knees, melting the spine forward, planting the hands. Bend the knees really deeply until you can bring the left knee down and then the left hip over to the side, and then uncross the right leg and just scooch all the way to the end of the mat so you have enough room. Nice. Great. That was like a bonus hamstring activator, Jeanette. Good one. Take a moment to observe the body and the breath. We're balanced on both sides. We'll repeat most of that sequence, and we'll add some interesting new aspects. If you are following along with music, please go to the next one, Waves of Reflection. Actually, let's start with the circle. So just take a couple of slow hip circles, letting the spine naturally follow, but you don't even have to do anything. Go the other direction. And then hover the right leg, let it step generously off to the side. Gentle twist. If you ever want more here, you can do hands free, and it takes a little bit more core strength. And then untwist, plant the left hand, let the hips lift, and give yourself permission to extend the right arm and right foot further apart, just stretching through that whole right side. And then set the hips down, turn towards the right leg. Either plant the hands behind you as you did before, or plant them in front of you. And this time, we'll just gently release over the right leg. Let the right knee bend so there's less resistance. And then push into the right heel to slowly rise back up. And now that our cores are nice and warm, we're going to skip falling through space, but we will repeat that same sequence. So sole of the right foot comes down, twist to the right. And then untwist, baby wild thing, but allow the right side to unfurl if it feels great. And then set the hips down, turn towards the right leg, bend the right knee, and without moving the leg, drag the right heel towards you. And just notice if that helps you get a little more reach and length over the leg. And then press into the right heel, rise up, maybe a moment of falling through space or just like hovering in space, and then cross the right leg in front of the left hand behind you, push down into the feet, let the knees swivel to the left, and then underneath you, flipping gently to tabletop. Step the hands forward. You can keep the knees down as we did in the first round, or you can hover the knees, so whichever would feel best. Either way, you'll press into the hands to reach the hips back, rounding through the spine, just like Bhaktasana, even if the knees are up. And then press into the feet and let the spine start to round forward into a puffed up plank, kind of like cat pose and plank together. Except let's all drop the knees at this point and just gently pull on the mat to open the heart back to that glorified cow. We'll do it one more time, knees up or down, send the hips back, and then press into the feet to slowly wave forward. Feel the spine rounding and puffing up, and then drop the knees for a little extra support and drag the mat back to open the front of the body. If it feels okay to lower the hips a little at this point, you can, but just make sure the low back feels okay. Feel free to step the hands forward a little wherever they need to be to give you space to open. And then with the knees down, release the hips to the heels. Slowly start to drag the hands in towards the knees. Push into the hands, hover the knees, let the heels come down, Uttanasana, and then push down into the feet, slowly rising up, step onto your mat if you need to, adjust your feet, find where your Tadasana is today for space and support in the pelvis, and then scoop the air up, let the hips fall back. And now we'll add on to our sequence. So shift the weight into the right foot and come onto the left foot. Come onto the ball of the right foot. So notice the work in that left leg. It should be feeling like, it's supporting you. It's doing work. Keep that sensation in the left leg as you step the right foot forward. It might be quite a small step, and be okay with that. And imagine you're on railroad tracks, so the feet are quite wide. So I'm going to turn so you can see how wide apart my feet are. And it might be different for everyone. So just give yourself permission to have a lot of spaciousness for the pelvic bowl. And release the hands down. Whew, that's nice, right? Rock the weight forward and back into each foot, one and then the other. And just notice any sensation in the knees. Sometimes if there's too much sensation in the front knee, you'll want to slide that foot forward a little bit. Make sure the pelvis feels supported and buoyant. And then extend both legs. Reach the fingertips down so the arms are energized. And very slowly start to bend the front knee as you scoop the air up in front of you. And then extend the right leg as you float the arms down. And just take a few pulses, moving as effortlessly as possible. As if you didn't even have a body and you were just energy moving through space. The next time you bend into the knee, just pause in Virabhadrasana 1. Check in with the back knee. If there's any pressure, try just bending it a touch. And then shift the weight into the right foot and slowly drag the back foot forward and let the knee hover in front of you for a moment. And then set the left foot down. Set the arms down and keep your feet where they are for a moment. And just notice if wherever you set the left foot down, if you're like, oh, hey, I feel pretty stable here. Just notice if your body organized itself well. And if it didn't, you can always adjust, but just notice. And we'll repeat that again. So scoop the air up, hips back, chair pose. If you have run out of real estate, scoot back because you're going to be taking one more step forward, but a lot of people have quite a bit of space in front of them. Shift the weight into the same foot, the left foot once again. Hover the right foot, notice the strength in the left leg, and keep all that strength as you step the right foot forward, like just a really short step. Yeah. Release the hands down, let the feet go wider or further apart, and then scoop the air up and bend the knee. And just take a couple of these effortless Virabhadrasana 1, letting the front of the body open. So as you scoop the air up, the heart reaches up towards the sky. The next time the knee bends, pause there, observe the breath, and then shift the weight into the right foot, drag the left foot forward and let it hover. And then set the left foot down. Again, notice where the foot just naturally went. And then release the arms down and start to bounce. Some people are good at this and it's really natural. For some people, it might feel really awkward. So try not to judge yourself. Just try to relax a little bit and imagine, or actually try to feel the muscles like jiggling. Like really try to let the body jiggle. When do we ever let ourselves do that? The more you can bounce here, the more you can really release tension in the muscles. So try to open the jaw a couple of times. No one can hear you. You're muted, so you can even do one of these. That's a good test of whether you're really doing it. And then extend the legs. Just pause and notice any sense of energy or tingling or warmth in the body. And then scoop the air up, send the hips back, chair pose. Shift the weight into the right foot. Listen carefully. Hover the left leg and keep the right leg exactly as it is. So strong, so supportive of the pelvis. Resist the temptation to really let the pelvis move a lot as you reach the left leg towards the back of your yoga mat and set it down. And you should find yourself in a short Virabhadrasana 2 with a lot of stability in the hips. So gaze at the back toe, let them open off to the side. We were doing a lot of these. And so if you need to do that transition one more time, just from chair, reach the leg back, letting the back hip rotate open a little bit, and then just float the hands. Great. Extend the right leg and bend the knee just a couple of times. And as you do this, give your feet permission to adjust. Right? If you feel sensation in your knee or your hip, that is a clue that it's not feeling supported. Right? We want everything to just glide. And I'm looking at you guys, and you all look great, and you're exploring. So once you find it, just pause for a moment. Observe the breath, observe the joints. Try to breathe space into the body. And then turn all 10 toes towards me so you look like a cute little starfish. Bend into the left knee. Shift the weight over the left leg. And similar to last week, drag the right leg across the mat. Let it hover and just gently twist towards the right leg. The knee doesn't have to lift high, but it can. Just let it be so gentle and effortless. And then bend into the left leg like we've been doing so often so it feels really strong and anchored. And then step that right foot back to where it came from, turning the toes out to the right. Let the knee bend and just notice any sense of stability in Virabhadrasana 2. And maybe you don't feel hip stretch, and that's okay. Right? We're trying to find our stability. Let's do that one more time. Turn the toes to the side, bend the left knee, drag the leg across. Gentle, effortless twist. And then bend generously into the left knee. Point the right toes to the short edge of the mat and step forward into a short Virabhadrasana 2. And make any adjustments you need to, but sometimes I see a lot of you just land and look perfect. So just notice that sense of the body organizing. Push into the ball of the left foot to slowly square the hips to the short edge of the mat. Reach the hands down inside of the right foot. Drop the left knee and walk the right foot over to the side. So again, your pelvis has a lot of space. And just draw some little circles with the hips, or big circles, whatever the body's asking for at this point. And you're not trying to stretch. You can go the other direction. You're just trying to find a fluidity. It's like you're lubricating the joints. And then press into the right foot, press into the left hand, and glide the left leg through that space so it extends in front of you. Gentle twist to the right. And then extend the right leg so both legs are in front of you. Place the hands to either side. Drag the heels back to lengthen the spine. Let the knees bend. And then just gently melt over the legs. And then kick into the heels to rise up. Pull the right leg in, then pull the left leg in. And just pause. Notice the body, notice the breath. We'll go through that same sequence on the second side. Start with your gentle hip circles. And now that we've done a lot of standing poses and the legs might be warmer, just notice if the body feels different, if this movement feels easier or more enjoyable. Go the opposite direction. And then step the left leg off to the side. Either hand's free or hand on the leg, twist to the left. And then untwist, plant the right hand, push down to allow the hips to unfold, and then stretch left hand and foot apart. Gently release the hips down. Turn towards the left leg. And option to just gently melt over the left leg. drag the heel towards you a little bit just to activate the leg a little bit more so you've got support in the front and the back of the hip. And then push into the leg. We'll do that one more time. So slide the sole of the left foot in, gentle twist. And then untwist, plant, and lift, baby wild thing. Set the hips down, allow the left heel to slide out, and just gently melt over the left leg. And then press down into the hands, rocking back to the sits bones, hover the feet, and just take a moment in falling through space. And then we'll transition by crossing left leg in front of right, right hand behind you, push down into the feet and the hand, let the knees swivel to the right and down, tabletop. Step the hands forward, your call, knees up or down, press the hips back. And then push into the feet to round the spine forward into a puffy plank. Drop the knees and pull on the mat to open the front of the body. Option to lower the hips a little bit as long as there's no compression in the low back. And then you can either rest in Bhaktasana or do that one more time. Nice job moving slowly, everybody. That looks beautiful, Marina. And then from wherever you are, let's all meet in Bhaktasana. And start to reach the back of the heart back so that you can slide the hands into the knees. Push down into the hands, hover the knees, let the heels start to come down as the hips lift. Push down into the feet to slowly rise up. Notice if the feet are already in a comfortable position. If not, adjust the feet so the knees and the pelvis just dissolve. Can't even feel them. They're so supported. Scoop the air up, let the hips sink down. Shift the weight into the right leg and keep that right leg really energized as you take a short step forward with the left foot. And then extend both legs, release the hands down, and take a moment to just shift the weight and give yourself permission to spread out, right? Maybe that means stepping wider or stepping longer. And then scoop the air up, bend the knee, effortless Virabhadrasana 1. Take just a couple of pulses and allow the knee bending and the arms reaching up to happen simultaneously. So it just feels like one body moving. You're welcome to pause for a moment in Virabhadrasana 1. Observe your natural breath flow. And then shift the weight into the left foot and drag the right foot slowly forward and up. Ever so gentle twist. Set the right foot down. Just pause. If you have enough space to step forward, you're good. Otherwise, step back a little bit. We'll do that one more time. So scoop the air up, send the hips back, shift the weight into the right leg. And then step the left foot forward, create your space. Check in with your knees and then release the hands and just take a couple of gentle pulses. In Virabhadrasana 1, allowing the front of the spine to open. Notice the sensation in the front of the right hip. Option to pause. And then shift the weight. Drag the back leg forward, gentle twist, and then set the foot down, set the arms down, and now we've got our moment to bounce. You can close the eyes. Don't worry, I'm not looking at you and no one else is either. And if you feel like the muscles are softening and you're getting the hang of it, feel free to intensify your bounces. They might get a little bit faster or more dramatic or less dramatic, almost like your body's just vibrating. Less is more. So if you're not sure if you're bouncing, again, make the movements really small and subtle. Like you're just trying to vibrate your skin, your muscles. And then pause. Notice the results. Okay, so as we prepare for our transition into Virabhadrasana 2, we'll be coming into the chair pose. The difference now is as the left foot stays anchored, we reach the right foot back. It is okay to let the right toes turn out to the side. I think that'll make it a more fruitful transition. So let's try it. Hips back, arms forward, shift the weight into the left foot. And now stretch the right leg back. Keep the left hip really stable, but let the right toes open off to the side, and then set the foot down into your short Virabhadrasana 2. Allow the hips to relax to the side and look down at the toes. They should be mostly pointed towards the long edge of the mat, so if they're pointed forward, just give yourself permission to slide the foot back and open. Allow the left knee to bend and extend a couple times. If it easily comes past the ankle, lengthen the foot forward. And just try to notice a sense of support in the front of the pelvis and the back of the pelvis, especially where the glutes and the sits bones are. And then turn your toes to the side, bend the knees, shift the weight into the right foot, drag the foot over, gentle twist, effortless twist. And then bend the knees, lengthen the foot off to the side, and let the toes turn out. And just notice when that right leg is so stable, how much shorter your stance might be than you're used to, right? So to have stability in our hips in this pose, it's often a shorter stance than we're used to. And then turn all 10 toes to the side, bend the right knee, drag the left foot forward, effortless twist. And then bend the right knee generously. Keep it strong and anchored, but then challenge it by stepping the left foot out. Nice. And just pause. The hands can float up, or if the arms are tired, they can melt down. Observe the breath. And then push into the ball of the right foot. Slowly start to close the hips as the right heel lifts. Melt the hands down inside the left foot. Release the right knee down. Walk the left foot over to the left so your hips have a lot of space, and then just draw some circles. Go the other direction. And then press into the right hand and the left foot. Slowly start to drag the right knee forward and step the right foot through. Gentle twist towards the left knee. And then extend the left leg so both legs are in front of you for Jana Shirshasana. Frame the knees with your fingertips. Bend the knees, drag the heels back to elongate the spine. You can even reach up for a moment just to really test how strong and supported you feel. And then slowly melt over the legs. Press into the feet, allowing the legs to extend. Slowly rise back up. And pull the left leg in, and then pull the right leg in, and just pause in your cross-legged position. And so normally in a vinyasa flow class, we would go through that one more time, a little more fluidly, a little faster. The goal of our class today was to feel really grounded and supported. And so I think it will just be a lot more beneficial to take our time and cool down and not rush anything and just let this last portion be close to the earth. So it's going to have a little different vibe for those of you in the Vinyasa Flow class. Thank you for your understanding. So take a moment to just gently turn towards the screen so it's a little bit easier to follow. Back to where we began. Just notice the breath flow. You can, at this point, pause the music, or you can go back to track 1, which is just more mellow. And reach the right knee pointed up to the sky. Let the right leg extend. Gently bend the right knee. Allow the body to elongate over the right leg. The hands can slide forward if it's comfortable. And then kick into the right heel, letting the leg extend and gently float back up. And do that a couple of times. And if there's any discomfort in the hips, see if coming all the way up and lengthening back just gives the front of the hips some space. And then don't go as far forward. Just let it be a little bit higher.